Hello children, let me welcome you all through a lesson here through the virtual training center of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai under the work from home sessions. My name is Shraddha Teacher and today I am here to teach you a lesson in English for Standard 9th. Now, if you remember, children, last time we did a lesson which was a poem from your textbook, and the name of the poem was Have You Ever Seen? Now, it was a very amusing poem where there were a lot of funny incidents like mountains, growing toes. Okay, so we saw many funny things there, like rivers having a bed sheet on it, and so many funny incidents we saw in that poem. I hope you remember part of it. And when we were doing that poem, I told you that the next time when we meet, we will do a little bit of grammar exercise from the same poem. So here I am back with the grammar exercises from the poem Have You Ever Seen? So this will be part 2 of the lesson Have You Ever Seen? So now if you look at this particular poem, children, there are a lot of figures of speech in the poem. Okay, now what are figures of speech? Now, figures of speech are those parts of speech or those poetic liberties that the poets take that go beyond the original meaning of words. Alright, now these kind of words you will see, or this kind of language, or these kind of sentences, usually you will find in poems, in poetry. Alright, and this is only for giving the poem or giving the piece of writing a new kind of approach. Alright, so figure of speech, you can say it is one kind of device, or it is one kind of method or technique which is used by these writers or these poets in order to make their poems more attractive, more interesting, and more amusing for the person who's reading it. Alright, so what is figure of speech? A figure of speech is a speech that goes beyond the original meaning of words in order to supply new effects or a fresh approach into an idea or a subject. For example, see here, if a person says that he is starving, now when do you say that you're starving? Who is a person who's starving? A person who is close to death because of hunger. These kind of people, we say that they are starving. Okay, but here when you say I'm starving, it doesn't mean that you're dying of hunger, but it means that you are very, very hungry. Okay, your hunger has gone to extreme levels and you're very hungry right now. All right, so these kind of things, these kind of usage of words which is done in poems, in poetry, is called as figures of speech. Now, there are some common figures of speech that we have been learning since we were in the 6th and 7th standard. So, we have learned about metaphor, we've learned about simile, which are very, very common figures of speech. Now, you've grown up, you've come to standard 9. Okay, so let us look at some more figures of speech now according to the content of your textbook or the poem in this particular time. So, what did we see? We saw that figures of speech are actually poetic devices. Devices or techniques which are used by poets in order to make their work or their poems more interesting. Alright, so like I told you, we have 4 figures of speech which is part of this particular lesson. It is interrogation, we have pun, then we have personification, and finally we have alliteration. So these are the 4 figure of speech that we have to learn as part of this particular poem Have You Ever Seen? Alright, now let us take each of them one by one. So we will do interrogation first. We will see what the meaning of interrogation is. We will do a few examples. Okay, and I will see to it that the examples which I show you are very interesting so that you will be able to remember them immediately. Okay, so let us go to the first figure of speech that we have, that is interrogation. So what is the common meaning of interrogation? When you think about interrogation or when someone tells you the word interrogation, immediately certain pictures are formed in your mind. That is asking questions. See how a person is being interrogated. Means he's being asked some questions in order to pick out or in order to derive information from him. All right. So in a way, I have understood that interrogation deals with the technique of questioning. Okay. But when it comes as a figure of speech, it is slightly different. Why do you interrogate someone? You interrogate someone in order to take out knowledge or take out information from that person. You want to know what's going on in the mind of that person. But here, when we talk about interrogation as a figure of speech, it has got another name too. And that name is rhetorical questions. Now, we have been learning about rhetorical questions also in the lower classes. Nevertheless, we will learn it again this time. But remember, interrogation as a figure of speech, the meaning varies slightly from the normal meaning. Okay, so here as a figure of speech, interrogation means, in other words, rhetorical questions. So let us see what rhetorical questions are. So interrogation is the asking of a question not for the sake of getting an answer, but to put a point more effectively. Okay, so why are you asking a question? You have no intentions of getting an answer. You do not want to know what the answer is because you already know the answer. Then what is the point in asking a question? Just to make yourself more assertive. Okay, just to make your point stronger, more effective. You're asking this question. Now it is also known as rhetorical question. Why? Because it is symbolic. It is only for effect that you're asking this question. That is why interrogation, when taken as a figure of speech, is called as rhetorical question also. Alright, now let us see what is the basic difference between a normal question and a rhetorical question. So let us look at this example. So these are all normal questions. Can you see this boy is asking some normal questions. So let's for example take the first question. How are you? Okay. So now how are you means what will you do? Will you just keep mum or will you answer? You will answer definitely. Isn't it? You will say I'm good, I'm doing well, okay, I'm fine. If someone asks you where have you been, what will you say? You will say I've been to school, okay, I've been to the market. When did you come back? I just came back right now, or I came back yesterday, or I came back last week. So, this is an example to tell you that these are normal questions. So, what is the difference between these questions and rhetorical questions? There are many more questions also, you can read them. What do you want to do now? Where are you staying? Are you happy to be back? Do you plan to go back? Where are your parents? Can you help me go there? So these are all questions that you're asking. So what is the difference between these questions and a rhetorical question? So the difference is mainly that in these questions you expect an answer. So answers are expected when you ask a normal question. But when you're asking a question as part of interrogation or when you're asking a question which is a rhetorical question, you do not expect answers. Okay? Let us, for example, take some examples of rhetorical questions here. So you see, the first one, are you crazy? So this question, when I'm saying, are you crazy? I want to say that you are crazy. You're doing something so, you can say not normal, that you are crazy. Okay? Look at the next question. Can you imagine that? Means they're doing something or something is so bad that you can't even imagine it. Okay, so when I'm saying, can you imagine that? I'm saying that you just can't imagine that. All right, look at the next one. If you poison us, do we not die? So, this all of us know that if someone poisons you, you will die. So, you're saying that we will die if you poison us. So, please don't poison us. If you poison us, we will die. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? So you should be ashamed of yourself. This is what I want to say when I'm saying, when I'm asking you, aren't you ashamed of yourself? So I'm telling you in a way that you're doing something bad and you should be ashamed of yourself. So, children, these are all examples of rhetorical questions where the answer is known to you. and you're asking this question only to prove a point. Okay? One more thing which I would like to point your attention to is most of these statements that have turned into rhetorical questions are strong statements. Okay, statements which carry a very strong emotion. You can see the exclamation mark used over there. Okay, this is not a rule. Remember, English is not like pure sciences where you combine two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of water and you get water. Hydrogen and oxygen, you get water. It is not like that. So there are no rules in English which you can say are hard and fast. But this is just something which I would like to draw your attention to, that usually when you want to make a strong statement, that is the time you ask a rhetorical question. Okay, so this was the first figure of speech that we have done. Now let us go to the next one, a pun. So what is a pun? A pun is a play on words that have the same sound but different meanings. Okay, so when you use homonyms and when you try to create some kind of, you can say, humor or wit, then it is called as pun. Now, puns are usually witty or humorous. So, when you want to add some element of humor or element of fun or some light element to your poem, you write or use the figure of speech pun. Okay. For example, time flies like an arrow. Okay. Now, flies here means the action of flying. So, time flies. Can time literally fly? No, but time passes soon. Okay, and look at the other meaning of flies here. Fruit flies, they like bananas. See, so fruit flies, they eat fruit and they like bananas. So here there are two words used. The first one is time flies and the other one is fruit flies. So in one, the flies is the action, and the other one, the fly means the insect fly. So what is pun? In other words, you could say that jokes created because of playing with words. When you play with words and then the situation becomes humorous or the sentence becomes funny, then that is called as pun. Okay, so we will see some interesting images to understand the meaning of pun here. So see, why was the baby ant confused? Why was the baby ant confused? Because all his uncles were ants. So you got the point? How words are used in order to make the situation funny or in order to create a joke. Now ants are all ants only. Alright? Now why is this baby confused? Because all its uncles are all ants. So this is the use of pun. I've tried to pick up examples which would be easy for you to understand. Let's look at one more example. Why are teddy bears never hungry? So teddy bears are never hungry because they are stuffed. Now you know a teddy bear is a kind of a doll or a toy which is called as a stuffed toy. So there is some soft filling inside it. The other meaning of stuffed means when you eat too much and now there is no space in your stomach. That time you say, no, I can't eat anymore because I'm stuffed. Alright, so they are saying, why are teddy bears never hungry? Because teddy bears are always stuffed. Alright, so these are some humorous, you can say, or some very nice examples of pun, interesting examples of pun. Let us look at some more. So look at this. There's no point anymore. Now, when you say there is no point anymore, you are either very upset or you have given up on something. Okay, you have given up, and you're saying that there is no point in talking to you. I am accepting my defeat. So that is what you want to say when you say there's no point. But here, look at the other meaning. When the pencil is saying there's no point, it doesn't mean that the pencil is depressed or the pencil is upset. It could also mean that the point of the pencil is broken off. Okay, so this is also a joke which has been created with words. And one last meaning, let's see, one last example. What kind of keys do kids like to carry? So kids, small children, what kind of keys do they like? So they like cookies. Okay, so this is what is meant by pun. Okay, when you play with words and you create humor, you create wit. That is called as pun. The next one, children, is personification. So personification we have been learning since we were in the lower classes too. So we know what is personification. So quickly let us see what personification is. So it is a figure of speech which gives the qualities of a person to an animal, an object, or an idea. Okay, so there are certain things which people can do and which animals or objects or ideas cannot do. So these qualities, when you're giving it to an animal or an object or an idea, then it is called as personifying. Treating that animal, treating that object, or treating that idea as a person. Look at the example, the wind yells while blowing. Okay, so only a human being can yell. So you can see this person yelling. Yelling means screaming loudly. Only a human being, people like you and me, can yell. Winds cannot yell. So the wind cannot yell at all. So it is an idea of personification. Let us look at some more ideas quickly. So the leaves danced across the lawn. That means the leaves, they were blown away by the wind and they moved across the lawn. But saying that the leaves danced. So can you see a leaf dancing? So is it possible? So that is personification. You're personifying the leaf. Alright. See, look at this. The stars winked at me. So there's this boy who's saying the stars are winking at me. So winking means when you shut and open your eyes, it's called winking. The stars cannot wink, they're just twinkling. Because of the gases in the air, the light is distorted and you feel that the stars are twinkling, okay, or winking. And now in the next 2 minutes, let's look at the examples of personification. So the camera loves me. Camera is not a human being to love you. The flowers begged for water. See the condition of the flowers? They are in a very bad position. They are almost they have withered away and they need water, but that doesn't mean that they are begging for water. Lightning danced across the sky. And art is a jealous mistress. Art, if you take up any art, like for example drawing, painting, dancing, it takes up a lot of your time. So it is said that art is a jealous mistress. Okay, these are all examples of personification, children. We will look at the last figure of speech again, a very simple one. Alliteration. We have learnt it again, like I told you previously, we have learnt it. I have taught you this, so I know. The use of the same beginning consonant sound in a line or a verse. So when the consonant sound is repeated in the beginning of a line or a verse, it is called as alliteration. Let us look at this example. Peter Piper picked a pick of pickled peppers. So the sound of the letter P is repeated. Okay. Some examples for alliteration before we quickly sign off for today. See, Susie saw a silly seal. So the sound of the consonant sound of the letter S is repeated during the beginning of each word. So Susie saw a silly seal. Now I remember when we were learning a lesson previous to this, we learned that when we talk about rhyme, it is just the exact opposite of this particular thing. Okay, so Susie saw a silly seal is an example of alliteration because the beginning, the consonant sounds at the beginning are repeated. One more example, crawl like a creepy crawly caterpillar. So the sound of the k in the C is repeated. Okay, children, last two examples. Jump like jolly jumping beans. The letter J is repeated and the sound is repeated. The snake slithered slowly. Okay, so children, this was a lesson based on grammar. We did figures of speech. We did 4 figures of speech, if you remember, in this lesson. We did personification, rhetorical question, alliteration, and pun. Okay, so now with these 2 sessions, we have finished doing the lesson Have You Ever Seen? Hope you understood the points that we have discussed in this lesson. If you have any doubt anywhere, this video is all yours to see again and again and again. Okay, so that is a thank you for you today from the Virtual Training Center of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Till we meet